There is a concept called the divine right of kings, and I would encourage anybody to look it up quickly. You can ask Siri or Google. But it's a political and religious doctrine of royal and political legitimacy, and it is a dangerous thing. And one cannot help but observe the disturbing imagery that is now occurring on social media, tying the politics and the religious traditions of this country. Again, in an election season, which is irrefutable. The emphasis for control and prevention is wrong. The emphasis on power and enforcement is wrong. We are bent on insistence that we shall have our way instead of dealing with, as has been mentioned, on both sides, the importance of persuasion, education, individual and community empowerment and responsibility. The extension of a state of emergency for a further 5 months, in my view, is high-handed, it is brash, and it seeks to prohibit fundamental freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. And it is following a pattern which I was already quite uncomfortable with when the COVID-19 legislation was going through, because the government has acquired and given itself, through questionable means, powers to infringe on the rights of citizens, and there is a progression now that is extremely worrisome. I shall speak on this a little later. So,
Senator Francis.
Madam President, I would like to start at a point of order. On 37, to impute ulterior motives, based on what the Senator has just said. I think the independent Senator, and I think maybe I may even have to take out the word independent, but the Senator really seemed to be regurgitating everything that the opposition senators have said, and has even gone further now to impute ulterior motives on behalf of the government. And I need him to withdraw the last statement that he made.
Senator Augier.
yes, Madam President.
You wish to withdraw the statement? Are you withdrawing the statement?
I do not know what statement I am required to withdraw, Madam President.
Senator Francis, can you be precise about the statement you wish withdrawn?
Madam President, he just made the last statement that he made about the government, the attentions of the government and so on. And that's what I asked him that he should withdraw. He has it written in his laptop, but no, he just made the last statement there. And if he's so sure that he has not imputed any ulterior motive, he'd read it again. Just to clear out anything, any ambiguity.
I can repeat, Madam President, and if there is a specific objection, I will be happy to have it identified to me. I'm expressing an opinion, I'm expressing an assessment. I'm describing what I see. And if I may, Madam President.
But Madam President, they keep talking about the infringement of
Senator
rights
Francis,
of the citizens.
let him conclude what you were saying.
Madam President, if I may, I do not think that if there is a coincidence of views between any senators in this House, that one's independence should be maligned on that basis.
Senator Francis.
My independence is not maligned when I agree with the government on things.
Madam President, the statements that have been made by the independent senator, if he wants to be referred as an independent senator, keep rehashing the very same things, that the fundamental rights and privileges of the citizens of this country has been infringed. Not for once has he given any indication as which rights and freedoms that have been infringed. So just to keep saying that does not hold water. You have to give examples of where the Prime Minister have abused his office, and we as a government have used the curfew to infringe on the rights of the citizens. Name one.
Proceed, Senator Augier.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, the point is that if there is a curfew It applies to all citizens regardless of their behavior, regardless of whether or not they are guilty of infraction or infringement. And therefore, it removes from all citizens a right which is enshrined in the Constitution, and I shall give details of exactly what those rights are shortly. So citizens who are law-abiding should not be compromised because the government cannot otherwise control those who are in contravention of the protocols. To have a broad sweeping measure such as a state of emergency, which then gives rise to a curfew or creates the atmosphere for a curfew, is to extend across all citizens a limitation on their ability to assemble, to gather, to move, to travel across the country.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Yes, Madam President. I stand on a point of order, Madam President, to find so that the Honorable Senator can explain to us where is it that the imposition, Madam President, Senator is talking about the rights and freedoms of citizens, and that the state of emergency is infringing on the rights and freedoms of these citizens as per the Constitution, Madam President. But this is the same Constitution, Madam President, that explains why a declaration of a state of emergency would be called. And it doesn't say anything about infringing on anybody's rights. And it states, Madam President, clearly that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the occurrence of any earthquake, hurricane, flood, fire, outbreak of pestilence, or of infectious diseases. And we are talking about COVID-19, Madam President. So I do not see the relevance between the curfew, the state of emergency, and infringing on people's rights.
Proceed, Senator Augier.
Did you say proceed, Madam President? Thank you very much, Madam President. So, Madam President, I would argue that if the state of emergency is justified on the basis that we need to have a curfew as part of our strategy for the COVID control, then we also should be focusing on other aspects of that strategy. Where, for example, is the plan for improving contact tracing? Why is there still resistance to second testing? The science is evolving and we are not. We have new information regarding travel risk, which we did not have 12 months ago, and we seem quite unwilling to take that information on board, that the spread of COVID related to travel has been proven to be quite minimal. We are not evolving our thinking, and so we are reaching back into the same old remedies, which are dubious, and I will say why. The emphasis on control is wrong, and it is a diversion from the real problem. Our numbers jumped at Christmas because of an influx of over 2,000 people. The authorities knew this would happen, and they did not take the sufficient measures to make it more controlled. As a result of that, the entire population, and this is my point, that the entire population is being made to pay for the sins of a few. And it is for somebody to stand up and say, no, a state of emergency is an exceptional measure. It is so framed in the Constitution, and it is not to be invoked lightly. And I do not think a sufficient case has been made for this extension for 5 months. If that view coincides with that of the opposition and other people in St. Lucia, then so be it. So people will ask, and they must ask, it is their duty to be vigilant and to ask on what basis is the government choosing this particular tool by itself and not proposing a comprehensive strategy which would add to the tools we have at our disposal for dealing with any potential flare-up of the disease. Why not extend for 60 days? And return to the Parliament and return to the people and ask them for their compliance, because this is what good governance is about. It is about consulting with people and asking for their agreement. This is not it. A state of emergency can be implemented within hours if necessary, as we all know, and brought to the Parliament for ratification. Where is the emergency? If the numbers are coming down, if we are accelerating vaccination, there can be no logical justification for the extension of the state of emergency. And the government may have a case, but it has not brought that case to this House. And you cannot or should not justify a state of emergency, which is a drastic measure and is so framed in the Constitution as a drastic measure to be invoked under exceptional circumstances. You cannot bring that on the pretext of wanting to have a curfew or the right to implement and sustain a curfew as your only justification. I do not think that is acceptable. Autocracy is a dangerous thing, Madam President, and we have seen the rise of autocracy in governments across the world in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have seen it here as well. The government has given itself exceptional powers, and let me list some of those. The right to detain citizens on suspicion, the right to censor communication in the public interest, the right to forbid assembly, the right to enter onto and commandeer private property, immunity from liability for itself, the waiver of rules of procurement for itself, the suspension of financial regulations for itself. These are the powers, and they are exceptional powers that the government has given to itself over the last 12 to 15 months. These are dangerous signs when taken all together. If they make people uncomfortable, then they have every right to say that they are uncomfortable. That is what democracy is about. So I would like, Madam President, to suggest that we preserve the right of our citizens to demonstrate. Somebody has asked whether or not we should have demonstrations. If the people choose to demonstrate peacefully, that too is their right, and they should not be deterred from doing it as long as they observe the law and they observe the protocols. So I think we are slipping away from normalcy. We are slipping further away from normalcy instead of having a strategy to return the country to normalcy. People need stability, they need predictability, they need reason, they need to understand why things are being done to them. And so it would be useful in debating a subject of this sort that we had a set of national guidelines which indicate how we as a country intend to tackle this situation. For example, we could say by May 30th, we will target that 50% of the population will be vaccinated, both shots. There will be voluntary second testing for visitors on arrival, that sites and attractions will be allowed to open under whatever specific conditions. By June 30th, curfew hours could be adjusted to 10 p.m. 60% of the population could be vaccinated. Restaurants allowed to open till 11 p.m. By August 30th, businesses saved, jobs reclaimed, household income recovering, assemblies of maybe 100 people permitted, arts and entertainment sector recovering. By September 30th, 70% of the population vaccinated, travel restrictions reviewed and revised as per the science, as per the facts, as per the protocols, as per global practice. That is what a comprehensive strategy looks like, bridging social, economic, and health imperatives, and giving people hope and information to live and plan their lives. Madam President, I'm not sure we have any evidence for blaming young people for the infection and death of older persons in their families and households. And I think that's a reckless assertion to make. This is dangerous, and I hope it is not informing government policy, that it is young people who go out and bring disease back and kill their relatives. I think that's reckless. Rights should only be curtailed under exceptional circumstances. This is my point. The case has not been made, ladies and gentlemen of this honorable House. The case maybe exists, but it has not been made. And to say that you want a state of emergency for the convenience of having a curfew or the right to implement a curfew in your back pocket in case it is needed, I'm sorry, that is buying a machine gun to kill ants.